Hey everyone, this is Kevin T. Rodriguez, film critic of iCritic.net and shareholder in Helios and Matheson, and I listened to your guys' advice and the message was clear. For certain things, audio only really works. So we're going to be doing this one a little differently. I suspect this will mostly work best as a podcast style, so I guess I don't need to be on camera very much. And it's also going to be unedited. Not that I do a lot of editing anyway, but we're just going to read this straightforward. Now, what we're talking about is that there is officially a class action lawsuit against Helios and Matheson. Now, if you are a Helios and Matheson customer, aka a MoviePass subscriber, this is not going to affect you. That class action lawsuit has yet to be filed. But if you're a shareholder, well, you might join this and you might get some money. And we're going to talk about a little bit about what the lawsuit appears to be about, what the chief complaints are. And before we do, there are at least a couple more things I need to mention. First of all, while this is on public record, I'm not going to be sharing the link because the person who shared it with me did so in a kind of roundabout way. Again, this information is public. You can go request the information yourself, but the person who sent it to me basically wants to be anonymous and doesn't want there to be any trace. So I'm going to respect that privacy. And the second thing is I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. This is purely a YouTuber speculation thing. And while I may personally, stand to gain something from this because I am a shareholder, I am not commenting whether or not I am going to join the lawsuit or not, because that would be a conflict of interest, I guess. Basically, I just want to comment on what's going on, and I'm even undecided whether or not I want to join this because I don't know if all the complaints here are completely valid, but anyway, let's go to the nature of the action, because that's where the things start. And it says, this is a federal securities class action on behalf of all investors who purchased or otherwise acquired Helios common stock between August 15th, 2017 and July 26th, 2018, inclusive the class period, seeking remedies under the Securities Exchange Act of 1934. Jurisdiction venue. The federal law claims asserted herein arise under the pursuit to sections 10b and 20a of the Exchange Act, 15 U.S.C. 78b and 78ta, and Rule 10b-5 promulgated therefore by the... How does Leonard the law professor do this every week? Anyway, let's go down a little bit more. The parties. Plaintiff Jeffrey Chang purchased Helios common stock with the class period and, as a result, was damaged thereby. Plaintiff's certification evidencing his transaction is attached hereto to Exhibit A. Defendant Helio is incorporated in Delaware and maintains its principal offices located at the Empire State Building, 350 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York. Helios common stock trades on the NASDAQ under the ticket symbol HMNY. Defendant Theodore Farnsworth was the company's chief executive officer and the president at all relevant times. Defendant Stuart Benson was the company's chief financial officer at all relevant times. So what's interesting is that at least so far, Mitch Lowe does not seem to be included. So, I don't know. So let's see here. Because of individual defendants' positions within the company, they had access to undisclosed information about Helios' business operations, operational trends, financial statements, market and present and future business prospects via access to internal corporate documents, including the company's operating plans, budgets, and forecasts and reports of actual operations and performance. Conversations and connections with other corporate officers and employees, attendance at management and board meetings and committees, therefore, and via reports and other information provided to them in connection therewith. As officers of a publicly held company whose securities were and are registered with the SEC pursuant to the federal securities law of the United States, the individual defendants each had a duty to disseminate prompt, accurate, and truthful information with respect to the company's financial condition and performance, growth, operations, financial statements, business markets, management, earnings, and present and future business prospects, and to correct any previously issued statements that had become materially misleading or untrue, so that the market price of the company's publicly traded securities would be based upon truthful and accurate information. The individual defendants' misrepresentations and omissions during the class period violated these specific requirements and obligations. So we're going to pause right there, because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, okay, what the heck is all that about? Well, we're going to read this last things and 12 and 13 and 14, and then we're going to get into some examples. So this is probably not going to be a short video, unfortunately. I don't like making too long videos, although I just uploaded one that was 20 minutes, so there you go. So continuing, as officers of a publicly held company whose securities were and are registered with the ECC pursuant to... Oh, wait, I think I already read that one. The individual defendants, because of their positions with the company, possess the power and authority to control the contents of Helios reports to the SEC, press releases, and presentations to securities analysts, money and portfolio managers, and institutional investors, i.e. the market. Each individual defendant was provided with copies of the company's reports and press release alleged herein to be misleading prior to or shortly after their insurance, and had the ability and opportunity to prevent their insurance or cause them to be corrected. Because of their positions and access to material non-public information available to them, each of these defendants knew that the adverse effects specified herein had not been disclosed to or being concealed from the public, and that the positive representations which were being made were then materially false and or misleading. The individual defendants are liable in the false statements pleaded herein, as the statements were each group published information, the result of the collective actions of the individual defendants. Each of the individual defendants are liable as a participant in a fraudulent scheme of course of business that operated as a fraud or deceit on purchasers of Helios common stock by disseminating materially false and misleading statements and or concealing material adverse facts. The scheme deceived the investing public regarding Helios business operations management and the intrinsic value of the securities, and caused plaintiff and other shareholders to purchase Helios security at artificially inflated prices. Now, to my knowledge, what this means, and this is just to my knowledge, is that basically they lied about the health of their company. Now, some people might say, you know, stock is a gamble. You always take that risk. And it's true. Stock is a gamble. And you may be healthy one day and not healthy the next day. I mean, for the longest time, I've actually been like a Disney shareholder for years, for a long, long time. And I can remember a period where the stock just didn't move. It was always at $30, and until it got down to like $20, and that's when Comcast tried to take it over and they failed. And now it's really high. And there was a time when Apple stock was so low, and boy, do I kick myself now for not buying it then, although I was quite young. When Apple stock was just so short, was selling for so little money, that you couldn't give it away. You couldn't give Apple stock away. And now it's like $1 trillion company. So, you know, stock is always just a gamble. But what being a publicly traded company does entail is that when you release press statements, when you file things with the SEC, you have to be as truthful and honest as possible. You can't be deliberately misleading the shareholders about the health of the company. That's just not how it works. And if Helios and Matheson are caught in that, then the class action lawsuit might be considered to have some merit. Now we'll skip over, we'll go to the substantive allegations, and we'll skip the company background because we all know what Helios and Matheson is. It's a data company. And it says the class period begins on August 15th, 2017, when Helios issued a press release, also attached as Exhibit 99.1 to a Form 8K filled with the SEC, announcing it would acquire a majority stake in MoviePass, Inc., a movie subscription technology company, and introduce a new $9.95 flat, no contract monthly fee Therein, Helios stated in relevant part. Now, these are, if you're watching this, you can pause the video if you want and read what these statements say. But I'm going to read the highlighted sections. And, I'm going to read the title and the highlighted section so that you know exactly what the plaintiffs are specifically complaining about. So this press release was called Helios and Matheson Analytic Inc. to acquire majority stake in MoviePass TM, today's #1 movie theater subscription service, which was true. Now, one of the first highlighted thing that they have a problem with in this press release is the MoviePass app enables subscribers to see unlimited movies in theaters with no blackout dates, no contracts, just a low flat $9.95 monthly fee. The other aspect of this press release that the plaintiffs have taken an issue with is today's acquisition by Helios and Matheson is a huge step forward, making our vision a reality by allowing us to introduce a new $9.95 nationwide subscription service that completely disrupts the movie industry in the same way that Netflix and Redbox have done in years past. So I don't know what their issues with those particular statements are, but that's the issues I have with that one. Now, in the next one, it says, on September 17th, 2017, Helios issued a press release also attached as Exhibit 99.1. Oh, okay, so this is continuing what their problem was. To the Form 8K filled with the SEC announcing more than 400,000 monthly subscribers to MoviePass and described Helios as sustainable business model. Therein, Helios stated in the pertinent part. So this is just a regular press release, but here's the two things that they took particular issue with. Helios and Matheson believes its technology stack combined with the MoviePass business model will transform the movie-going experience and create great value for both companies. Yeah, you wonder what their problem with that statement is. And the next statement was, this explains our substantial business model. Helios and Matheson is incorporating advertising models with the MoviePass application using artificial intelligence, algorithms, and machine learning so we can provide studios with more precise data for their advertising effects. So, and that rarely happened. So I'm assuming that's what those two issues were. Now then, on October 12th, 2017, Helios issued a press release, also attached to Exhibit 99.1 to the Form 4K, with SE announced it had increased its ownership stake in MoviePass to 53.71% and was providing another advance payment to MoviePass. Therein, Helios stated in the pertinent part, this was the issue part with this that they have an issue with, quote, I believe we are witnessing a major disruption in the movie industry, said Ted Farnsworth, chairman and CEO of Helios and Matheson. The marketplace has responded, and we could not be more thrilled with the new subscriber results of MoviePass. Now, I'm just going to say, from a personal perspective, I don't think they'll get a lot of mileage out of that statement, because as far as we know, Ted might have honestly believed that. But let's continue. Another press release that is also an extension of 99.1. Actually, they didn't highlight anything on that one, so this is, I don't know, a couple of these they're just bragging about how many subscribers that they have. So I'm assuming there's a reason that they've attached those, but we're not going to touch them. But we get to see, and this is where the truth emerges. On July 27th, 2018, Helios filed a Form 8K with the SEC announcing that it had issued a demand note in the principal amount of $6.2 million because it was unable to make required payments to its merchants and fulfillment processors, leading to a service interruption. Therein, Helios stated in relevant part. Now, in the demand note, I think people have been pouring over that for the last few days, but what's highlighted there is the $5.0 million cash proceeds received from the demand note will be used by the company to pay the company's merchant and fulfillment processors. If the company is unable to make required payments to its merchant and fulfillment processors, the merchant and fulfillment processors may cease processing payments for MoviePass Inc., which would cause a MoviePass service interruption. Such a service interruption occurred on July 26, 2018. Such service interruptions could have a material adverse effect on MoviePass's ability to retain its subscribers, and that, by the way, has been proven to be very accurate. I mean, personally, I've saved so much money on MoviePass. I've encouraged people, you know what, give it a couple of weeks. The service might temper out, but the thing is, they're under no obligation to do that. And a lot of subscribers are like, hey, you know what? If I go to see the movie and it's not working for me, I'm canceling. Heck, my brother took that stance. So, you know, that's... And the reason they're highlighting that, of course, is that seems to be in huge contrast to those last few statements that they attach that talked about how sustainable MoviePass was, how many subscribers they have. And now, like, just like about a year later, they're borrowing money to stay in business. So, on this news, the price of the company's common stock declined $4.83 from a close on July 26 at $6.83 per share of Helios common stock to close on July 27th at $2 per share of Helios common stock, a drop of approximately 70.72%. In the course of the following trading days, the price of the company's common stock declined another 1.76 to close on August 1st, 2018 at 22 cents per share of Helios common stock, an overall drop from the July 26, 2018 of approximately 96.49%. Additional scienter allegations. As alleged herein, defendants acted with sincerity in that they knew that the public documents and statements issued or disseminated in the name of the company were material, false, and misleading, knew that such statements or documents would be issued or disseminated to the investing public, and knowingly and substantially participate or some of these words in the insurance or of such statements or documents as primary violations of the federal security laws. As set forth elsewhere here and in detail, defendants, by virtue of their receipt of information reflecting the true facts regarding Helios, their control over and or receipt and or modification of Helios' allegedly material misleading statements, and or their association with the company, which made them privy to confidential proprietary information concerning Helios, participated in the fraudulent scheme alleged herein. So now we're getting to the loss and the economic loss. So yeah, this is where they're pretty much saying what they lost. During the class period, as detailed herein, defendants engaged in a scheme to deceive the market and a course of conduct that artificially inflated the company's stock price and operated as a fraud or deceit on acquirers of the company's common stock. As detailed above, when the truth about Helios' misconduct and its lack of operational and financial controls was revealed, the value of the company's common stock declined as the prior artificial inflation no longer propped up its stock. Now I'm going to pause here for a second because that's actually not 100% false. For those of you who might have been reading articles from Seek Alpha, I forgot the guy's name, but he's called the Helios and Matheson stock a dog. Stay away from it. It's going to zero. He used to be an investor, got in at 30, got out at 10, and he admitted that he bought based on the story, that the story sounded great, that it was going to go fine. And ultimately he realized that the story was just that. It was a story, that the business model was not sustainable, and he got out. And so there's some validation to this because Helios and Matheson made some statements making it sound like this was sustainable. They made a lot of statements saying this was sustainable. Now, I think that they didn't, I personally think they didn't intentionally mislie, or at least Mitch Lowe didn't lie. Ted Farnsworth is kind of a scumbag. But they knew this was unsustainable, but they had hopes that other things would kick in, but those didn't kick in. So now it definitely looks a lot more fraudulent. Let's see here. Continuing, the decline in Helios common stock price was a direct result of the nature and extent of the defendant's fraud finally being revealed to investors in the market. The timing and magnitude of the common stock price decline negates any interference that the loss suffered by plaintiff and other members of the class was caused by changed market conditions, macroeconomic or industry factors, or company-specific facts unrelated to the defendant's fraudulent conduct. The economic loss, damages suffered by plaintiff and other class members was a direct result of defendant's fraudulent scheme to artificially inflate the company's stock prices and to subsequent significant declines in the value of the company's share price when defendant's prior misrepresentations and other fraudulent conduct was revealed. at all relevant times. Defendants' materially false and misleading statements or omissions alleged herein directly or approximately caused the damages suffered by the plaintiff and other class members. Those statements were material, false, and misleading through their failure to disclose a true and accurate picture of Helio's business, operations, and financial conditions as alleged herein. And that's, we're going to pause again, because that's probably true. Everything was hunky-dory, but it was interesting how, like, whenever they would be pressed, how is this going to work? Oh, we're going to sell data. Well, how are you going to sell the data? And they were oddly silent. You know, they were not very specific about their business model. And every time there was like an interview or stockholder meeting or whatever, they didn't provide a clear path forward. They didn't even discuss how the negotiations were going. There was just a lot that just wasn't said. And I admit that now, although I'm not selling my shares. Stop telling me to. So there might be something here. So we're gonna skip forward a little bit because, in fact, this might even be the end of what we really need to do. You know, there's a bunch of counts here and all that, but basically, what's being sued for is that the shareholders felt misled. They felt misled by Helios and Matheson, that they weren't being honest about their financial condition, the sustainability of the product of MoviePass, and we're going to have to see if a judge considers there to be a valid complaint. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know what the judge will think. It is the job of press releases to, for the most part, try to paint the company in as good a light as possible, which they were definitely doing. SEC filings did at one point suggest that the company was burning through a lot of money and it wasn't as sustainable. And I do recall that when the first report showed that they only had so much money left on hand, that it was a shock to people. They really couldn't understand, like, wait a minute, you only have this much money on hand and you're burning how much? And you didn't let this be known earlier? I mean, what are you doing? So there might be an argument that they were not super honest about what they were doing. It's going to be interesting to see where this goes from here. Now, in regards to the potential class action lawsuit about MoviePass taking features away, I don't think that's going to work, guys. It's, first of all, you do agree to new terms of service. And secondly, it's a cancel anytime thing. So, as for the annual pass, ask a lawyer. There might be a provision in there. But so, yeah, the shareholders are suing Helios and Matheson. Now, what's really curious is that, and I'm going to make another video about this, there's some talk that another company might be willing to buy these guys because they see a lot of value in MoviePass. But they would also be inheriting this mess. So I wonder if that would interfere with MoviePass's ability to be bought, have the management shaken up and run by another company, because, you know, sometimes companies don't like buying other companies that have class action lawsuits, because pretty much one of the first things you have to do is pay some money and settle it. So who knows what's going to happen. But anyway, I would really love to know what you guys think. So comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy my videos, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, but even as little as $1 a month goes a long way to helping the channel run smoothly. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.